Taemin wiped the grease from his hands and looked at the broken gravity regulator on his workbench. The piece of alien technology glowed with a soft blue light, its mechanisms far more elegant than anything humans made. He had been working on Drakari equipment for 3 years now, ever since he moved to Frontier Station Dalbit. The Dragon people paid well for repairs, and they needed someone who understood both their technology and human methods. Outside his small shop window, the station was going crazy with activity. Ships were arriving, people were rushing around, and the news screen showed the same thing over and over. Queen Yura of the Drakari Empire had arrived. She was looking for a new husband, and everyone wanted to know who she would choose. Taemin did not care much about royal visits. He had work to do and a daughter to feed. Speaking of his daughter, where was she? "Hana," he called out. "Where did you go?" A small voice answered from near the window. "Dad, come look. The dragon ships are so pretty." Taemin smiled and walked over to his 6-year-old daughter. Hana pressed her face against the window, her eyes wide with wonder. The Drakari fleet filled the docking bay with ships that looked like they were made of crystal and fire. They reflected light in ways that seemed almost magical. "They are beautiful," Taemin agreed, "but I need to finish this repair. The merchant who owns it needs his ship running by tomorrow. Can we go see the dragons?" Hana asked. "Maybe later, sweetheart. Right now, Daddy has work." He kissed the top of her head and returned to his bench. Hana made a small disappointed sound but did not argue. She was a good kid, understanding beyond her years. She had to be. 3 years ago, her mother Ji-won had died in a shuttle accident. Since then, it had been just the two of them against the universe. Taemin pushed away the sad thoughts and focused on the regulator. Work helped. It always had. There was something peaceful about fixing things, about taking something broken and making it whole again. Ji-won used to say he had magic in his hands. He wished that magic could have saved her. Hours passed. Taemin worked late into the evening, carefully adjusting the alien components. Finally, the regulator hummed to life, its blue glow steady and strong. He had done it. The repair would pay for next month's rent with a little extra left over. "Hana, time for dinner," he called out. No answer. "Hana?" Fear shot through him. He checked the small living area behind the shop. Empty. The bathroom. Empty. His heart started pounding. Where was she? He ran out into the station corridor, looking left and right. The evening shift workers passed by, paying him no attention. He forced himself to think. Where would Hana go? Then he remembered her fascination with the dragon ships. The observation deck. Taemin ran through the station corridors, his mind filled with terrible possibilities. The station was usually safe, but it was crowded today. Anything could happen. He took the lift up to the observation level and burst through the doors. There she was. Hana sat on the floor near the huge windows that showed the stars and the docked ships. But she was not alone. Sitting next to her was a child with silver scales and small wings folded against her back. A Drakari child. The two girls were sharing what looked like a snack, talking and laughing together. Relief flooded through Taemin, followed immediately by new worry. The Drakari girl wore expensive clothes with royal symbols. This was not just any dragon child. This was Princess Mira, daughter of Queen Yura herself. Before he could move, security guards appeared from everywhere. Large Drakari warriors in armor surrounded the two children. One of them, a female with dark red scales and sharp eyes, pointed at Taemin. "You, human, step forward." Her voice was hard and commanding. Taemin approached slowly, hands raised. "I'm sorry. I was just looking for my daughter." She wandered off. "I did not know she would bother the princess." The princess stood up quickly. "She did not bother me. Hana is my friend." The guard commander looked surprised. Princess Mira ran to Hana and took her hand. The two girls stood together, Hana looking tiny next to the dragon princess. "Commander Bora, please do not be mean to them," Princess Mira said. "Hana shared her food with me. She told me stories about her mother. She's nice." Commander Bora's expression softened slightly when she looked at the princess, but her eyes remained hard when she turned back to Taemin. Something about the princess seemed different today. Happier. That was unusual enough to make Bora pause. Taemin bowed deeply. "Your Highness, I apologize again. Hana, come here. We need to go home." "No." Princess Mira held Hana's hand tighter. "I want to see her again. Can she come back tomorrow?" Commander Bora shook her head. "Princess, that is not appropriate. You have many duties tomorrow. But I do not have any friends. The princess's voice cracked. Everyone at the palace is always busy or scared of me. Hana is not scared. Please, Commander Bora, please. The big warrior woman looked uncomfortable. Taemin recognized the expression. It was the same one he wore when Hana begged for something with her big eyes. Being a parent meant sometimes giving in to impossible requests. I will need to speak with Queen Yura about this, Commander Bora said finally. She looked at Taemin. What is your name, human? Taemin! I run a repair shop on level 7. Stay there. Someone will contact you. Commander Bora gestured to the other guards. Escort the princess back to the royal quarters. As the guards led Princess Mira away, she turned and waved at Hana. Bye, friend. I will see you soon. Hana waved back, smiling. Bye, Mira. When they were alone in the corridor, Taemin knelt down and looked at his daughter seriously. Hana, you cannot wander off like that. I was so worried. I am sorry, Dad, but Mira was sitting all alone and she looked so sad, just like I feel sometimes when I think about Mom. So I sat with her and we talked. She is really nice, even if she is a princess. Taemin sighed and hugged his daughter. Sometimes her kindness amazed him. Ji-won had been like that too, always seeing when someone needed a friend. It seemed Hana had inherited that gift. Just promise me you will tell me before you go anywhere, okay? I promise, Dad. That night, Taemin could not sleep. He kept thinking about the encounter. Tomorrow, someone from the royal court would contact him. Maybe they would be angry. Maybe they would fine him. He could not afford any trouble right now. Business was steady, but not great. Every credit counted, but more than worry, he felt curious. Princess Mira had looked genuinely happy talking with Hana. What kind of life did she have that made her so lonely? Being a princess should mean having everything, but it seemed like she was missing something important. Friends. Taemin understood that. After Ji-won died, many of their old friends had drifted away, uncomfortable with his grief or too busy with their own lives. The next morning, the message came earlier than expected. A formal invitation, delivered by a royal messenger. Taemin was summoned to the royal quarters at noon. He read the message 3 times, his stomach churning with nervousness. Am I in trouble, Dad? Hana asked, peering at the message. I do not think so. They just want to talk to us. He hoped that was true. At exactly noon, Taemin and Hana stood outside the entrance to the royal quarters. The guards checked their identification and let them through. Inside, everything was beautiful and expensive. The walls gleamed with some kind of crystal material. Artwork from across the Drakari Empire decorated every surface. Taemin felt completely out of place in his work clothes. Commander Bora met them in a large receiving room. The Queen will see you shortly. Wait here. She paused, looking at Hana. Princess Mira has not stopped talking about you. That is unusual. She is normally very quiet. Before Hana could respond, a door opened and Queen Yura entered. Taemin had seen pictures of the Dragon Queen before, but they did not do her justice. She was tall, with scales that shimmered between gold and bronze. Her wings were folded elegantly against her back. She wore clothes that looked both practical and royal, but what struck him most was her eyes. They were tired. This was someone carrying a heavy burden. Taemin bowed. Your Majesty, thank you for seeing us. I apologize again if my daughter caused any problems. Queen Yura studied him for a long moment. Stand up. Let me look at you properly. He straightened, trying not to show his nervousness. The Queen walked closer and he realized she was examining him like he examined broken machinery, looking for flaws or weaknesses. You are a mechanic, she said. It was not a question. Yes, Your Majesty. I repair equipment, mostly alien technology. And you're raising your daughter alone? Yes. My wife died 3 years ago. The words still hurt to say. Something shifted in the Queen's expression. Understanding, sympathy? He could not tell. I lost my mate 5 years ago, she said quietly. Battle. He died fighting for the Empire. She looked at Hana. You must be Hana. Hana curtsied awkwardly. Hello, Your Majesty. My daughter has asked me for something unusual. She wants to spend time with you, to be friends. Normally I would say no. But Mira has not smiled like she did yesterday in a very long time. The Queen paused. How do you feel about supervised visits? Mira needs friends her age. Real friends, not children of nobles trying to gain favor. Taemin was surprised. This was not what he expected. If Hana wants to, then yes. But Your Majesty, we will only be on this station for a few more weeks. I do not want Hana to get attached and then... We will be here for at least a month, Queen Yura said. After that, we will see. Sometimes even short French 2 weeks passed quickly. Every day, Taemin brought Hana to the royal quarters. The girls would disappear into a playroom while Taemin waited. At first, he just sat in the waiting area feeling awkward. But on the third day, Commander Bora had other plans. The palace engineers have equipment that needs repair, she told him. Since you are here anyway, would you look at it? Taemin agreed. It gave him something to do besides sit and worry. The workshop they led him to was impressive, filled with advanced Drakari tools. But the equipment waiting for repair showed clear signs of frustrated attempts to fix it. Someone had tried and failed. He examined a broken environmental control system. The Drakari engineers had tried to force it to work their way. But Taemin could see the problem. The system was designed with a specific logic, and you had to respect that logic. He made a few adjustments, working with the system instead of against it. Within an hour, it hummed back to life. Word spread quickly. Soon, Taemin found himself with a line of equipment to repair. The palace staff started bringing him their difficult problems. He fixed things they had struggled with for weeks, not because he was smarter, but because he listened to what the machines were trying to tell him. Meanwhile, Hana and Princess Mira became inseparable. They played games, told stories, and did simple kid things that the princess had never experienced before. Mira had been raised with lessons and duties. Playing was something new and wonderful. Queen Yura sometimes watched them from the doorway. Taemin noticed her there one afternoon when he came to collect Hana. She looked at her daughter with such love and sadness mixed together. Thank you again for bringing Hana, the queen said softly. Mira is changing. She laughs now. Hana loves coming here. She talks about Mira all the time. Taemin hesitated. If I may ask, Your Majesty, why is the princess so lonely? Surely she has many children to play with. Yura smiled sadly. She has many children around her, but they are children of nobles, taught to see her as a future queen, not a friend. They are careful and formal. Mira can feel the difference. She has a gift, you see, an empathic sense. She knows when someone is being fake. That must be hard. It is. She feels everyone's emotions. Fear, greed, ambition. The court is full of those feelings. The queen looked at him directly. But when she is with Hana, she feels only genuine friendship. That is rare, Taemin understood. His daughter did not know how to be fake. She was honest in a way that came from being raised with love, not politics. On the 10th day, everything changed. 2 Drakari nobles arrived at the station with great fanfare. Lord Day One came first with ships full of gifts and servants. He was impressive, with dark scales and powerful wings. His wealth and status were obvious in everything he wore and said. Admiral Kyung-ho arrived the next day, leading a military fleet. He was a war hero, respected and feared. His scales were silver like armor, and he moved like a weapon ready to strike. The station buzzed with gossip. Everyone knew what this meant. These were the suitors, the candidates to become Queen Yura's new mate. The whole empire was watching to see who she would choose. Taemin tried to ignore it. This was royal business, nothing to do with him. But Hana noticed the change immediately. Mira is sad again, she told her father one evening. Those men came to visit, and she had to be formal and polite. She did not like them. They are probably very important, Taemin said carefully. Important does not mean nice. Mira said she could feel what they really wanted. They want power. They do not care about her or her mom. Taemin felt uncomfortable. A 6-year-old should not be involved in such adult matters. But Hana was just repeating what her friend felt. The next time he brought Hana to the royal quarters, he saw the suitors for himself. They were in the main hall, presenting formal proposals to Queen Yura. Taemin had to walk past them to reach the playroom. Lord Daewon was speaking. Your Majesty, together we could unite the greatest houses of the empire. Our combined wealth would make the Drakari unstoppable. I would expand your territories, bring glory to your name. Queen Yura listened with a neutral expression. She looked tired. Taemin hurried past, not wanting to intrude. But Lord Daewon noticed him. Who is that human? He asked with clear disdain. He is the mechanic who repairs our equipment, Commander Bora answered, and the father of Princess Mira's friend. Daewon snorted. A mechanic. How quaint. Taemin kept walking, his face burning. He was used to being looked down on by wealthy people, but it still stung. That evening, as he worked in the palace workshop, Queen Yura came to find him. She rarely visited the workshop. Something must be wrong. I apologize for Lord Day One's rudeness, she said. No need to apologize, Your Majesty. I am just a mechanic. Just a mechanic who fixed our quantum drive when every palace engineer failed. She picked up a tool from his bench, examining it. They said it was impossible to repair. You had it working in 2 days. Taman shrugged. I just listened to what the system needed. Your engineers are very skilled, but sometimes they try too hard to force things their way. I worked with what was already there. Yura was quiet for a moment. That is an interesting philosophy. Working with what is there rather than forcing change. It works for machines. I cannot say about other things. Perhaps it works for more than machines. She set the tool down. Tell me about your wife, if that is not too painful. The request surprised him, but he found himself answering. Ji-won was wonderful. She saw beauty in everything. She taught me that fixing things is not just about making them work. It is about understanding what they mean to people. A broken toy is not just plastic and metal. It is a child's favorite thing. That understanding made me a better mechanic. She sounds wise. She was. Taemin smiled sadly. She would have loved this station. All the different cultures mixing together. She always said differences make things stronger, not weaker. Yura nodded slowly. My mate believed strength came from power. He was a great warrior. Everyone respected him. But sometimes I wonder if he truly understood what it meant to rule. I am sure he did his best. He did. But his best was battle and glory, not the quiet work of keeping people happy and safe. She looked at Taemin. Do you know what my current suitors promise me? Territory. Military might. Political alliances. Not one of them has asked what I actually need. Taemin felt he was hearing something very private. He was not sure how to respond. What do you need, Your Majesty? He asked quietly. She laughed, but it was not a happy sound. A partner. Someone who sees me, not just the crown. Someone who will help me be a good mother as well as a good queen. She paused. Someone who understands that some things cannot be fixed by force. Before Taemin could think of something to say, an alarm blared through the station. Emergency lights flashed. His heart jumped. Commander Bora burst into the workshop. Your Majesty, there is a situation. A colony ship has lost life support. They are in range, but we need to act fast. Queen Yura immediately switched into command mode. How long do they have? 6 hours, maybe less. Over 1,000 people aboard. Prepare the fleet. We will mount a rescue. Admiral Kyung-ho already suggests military intervention. He believes it may be sabotage by enemies. Taemin's mind was racing. He knew that kind of system failure. It was not sabotage. It was a cascade failure in mixed technology systems. He had seen it before. Your Majesty, he spoke up. Both women looked at him in surprise. May I see the diagnostic data? This is not the time for a mechanic's curiosity, Commander Bora snapped. Show him, Queen Yura ordered. Bora pulled up the data on a screen. Taemin studied it quickly. Yes, he was right. This was a cascade failure. The problem was spreading through the systems one by one. It is not sabotage, he said. It is a compatibility issue. That ship uses both Drakari and human components. Sometimes they conflict. The failure started in one system and spread. Can it be fixed remotely? Yura asked. No, but I can modify repair drones. If we combine human drones with Drakari override protocols, we can get them inside the ship and make the repairs. That has never been done, Commander Bora protested. Which is exactly why it might work, Taemin said. The military option will take too long. By the time the fleet is ready and travels there, people will be dead. Queen Yura made her decision in seconds. Do it. Commander Bora, give him whatever he needs. Get our best engineers to help him. Admiral Kyung-ho arrived then, his face angry. Your Majesty, you cannot trust this human with such an important task. We should send warships. We will send warships as backup, Yura said firmly. But Taemin's solution is faster. Those are our people dying out there. We try his way first. The next 5 hours were chaos. Taemin worked with a mixed team of human and Drakari engineers. At first, they were skeptical, but he showed them what to do, explaining his thinking. He treated the Drakari engineers with respect, learning from their knowledge while sharing his own. Slowly, the team came together. A human engineer suggested a modification. A Drakari technician improved on it. They stopped being 2 separate groups and became one team working toward the same goal. With 1 hour left before critical failure, they launched the modified drones. Everyone watched the screens as the tiny machines flew to the dying colony ship. Tea! Servants followed him everywhere, trying to help with things he could do himself. He had formal clothes now, uncomfortable and stiff. Every meal wall. The trial month was progressing better than anyone expected. Taman and Yura had found a balance. Mornings he would join her for important meetings learning about ruling an empire. Afternoons she would come to his workshop, learning about fixing machines and understanding practical problems. Evenings belonged to the children, with both families eating dinner together and sharing stories. Hana and Mira had become true sisters in every way that mattered. They played, they fought, they made up, they protected each other. The palace staff noticed that Princess Mira was different now. She smiled more. She talked more. She seemed genuinely happy, but not everyone was happy with how things were going. Lord Daewon and Admiral Kyung-ho remained on the station, watching and waiting. They had not given up. They spread rumors among the nobles, questioning whether a human could truly be trusted with such an important position. One evening, during a formal dinner, Lord Daewon made his move. The dinner was attended by important nobles from across the empire. Taman was there, uncomfortable in his formal clothes, trying his best to follow all the rules Yura had taught him. Daewon stood up and addressed the queen. Your Majesty, with respect, many of us are concerned. The human has been here for 3 weeks now. What has he accomplished? Has he negotiated any treaties? Has he strengthened any alliances? Has he done anything that shows he can help rule this empire? The nobles murmured in agreement. Yura's expression remained calm, but Taemin could see the tension in her shoulders. The purpose of this month is for us to learn about each other, Yura replied. Not to prove political worth, Admiral Kyung-ho joined in. But Your Majesty, the empire needs strength. We face threats on multiple borders. We need a consort who can lead armies, who understands strategy. What can a mechanic offer in times of war? Taemin felt dozens of eyes turn toward him. He knew this moment would come. He had been waiting for someone to challenge him directly. He stood up, his heart pounding. You are right, he said quietly. I cannot lead armies. I do not know military strategy. I'm not a diplomat or a politician. He paused, but I know how to listen. I know how to solve problems by understanding what is really needed, not just what people say they want. I know how to bring different people together to work toward a common goal. That is the talk of someone who has never faced real challenges, Daewon said dismissively. Pretty words mean nothing when your enemies are at your gates. Before Taemin could respond, Commander Bora stood up. With all respect, Lord Daewon, Taemin saved over 1,000 lives when our colony ship was failing. He did it not by commanding or forcing, but by working with others. That is not nothing. Taemin was surprised. Commander Bora had not been friendly to him at first. But over the past weeks, she had warmed up. She had seen how he treated Mira and Yura, how he worked with the palace staff. She had come to respect him. One lucky success does not make a leader, Kyung-ho countered. He turned to Taemin. Tell me, mechanic, if you were advising the queen and an enemy attacked one of our colonies, what would you do? It was a trap. Any military answer Taemin gave would be wrong because he was not trained in such matters. But he thought about the question differently. First, I would ask why they attacked. Most conflicts have reasons beyond just violence. Maybe there is a resource dispute. Maybe there is a misunderstanding. Maybe they feel threatened. I would try to understand the real problem before sending ships to fight. And if they cannot be reasoned with? What if they only understand force? Kyung-ho pressed. Then I would let people like you handle it. I would never pretend to know more than I do. But I would make sure we tried every other option first because war costs lives. It should be the last choice, not the first. Some nobles nodded thoughtfully. Others looked unconvinced. But Yura was smiling slightly. He had said exactly what she would have wanted to hear. The dinner continued with an uncomfortable tension. Later, when Taemin walked Hana back to their quarters, Yura joined them. You handled that well, she said. I just told the truth. I am not what they want me to be. No, you are what I need you to be. Someone who thinks differently. Someone who sees solutions where others only see problems. She touched his arm gently. But they are right about one thing. People will test you. If we go forward with this, there will be more challenges. Taemin looked at her. In the soft light of the station corridor, she looked tired but hopeful. He realized he had feelings for her now. Real feelings. It was not just about helping Mira anymore. He cared about Yura herself. I am willing to face those challenges. If you want me to, she smiled. I do. The next day brought news that changed everything. A border dispute had erupted between the Drakari Empire and a human colony. Both sides were mobilizing forces. It was the kind of situation that could easily turn into war. Admiral Kyung-ho immediately pushed for military action. Lord Dae-won suggested using the situation to expand Drakari influence. The council was divided, with some wanting peace and others wanting to show strength. Yura called an emergency meeting. Taemin was included because of his unique position as both human and someone close to the queen. The tension in the room was thick. We must respond firmly, Kyung-ho insisted. If we show weakness now, other colonies will think they can challenge us. But war between humans and Drakari would be disastrous, another advisor argued. We have worked so hard for peace. Taemin listened to the arguments going back and forth. Finally, Yura asked him directly. You are human. You understand your people. What do you think is really happening here? Everyone turned to look at him. He took a deep breath. The colony that is causing trouble is new. I know this because I researched it. They are struggling. Resources are scarce. They probably feel desperate and cornered. When people feel that way, they do desperate things. So you suggest we give them what they want? Reward their aggression? Dae-won scoffed. No. I suggest I go there alone. As someone who is both human and connected to the Drakari royal family, I can talk to them. Find out what they really need. Maybe we can solve this without anyone dying. The room exploded with objections. It was too dangerous. It showed weakness. It would never work. But Yura raised her hand for silence. What do you need? She asked Taemin, a small ship. Commander Bora and a few guards. And trust that I know how to talk to my own people. Yura thought for a long moment. Then she nodded. You have it, but if you are in danger, we will intervene. 2 days later, Taemin arrived at the troubled colony. It was a rough place. Buildings still being constructed, people working hard in difficult conditions. The colonial governor met him with suspicion. You come from the Dragon Queen? The governor asked. You are human, but you wear their symbols. I am still human. But yes, I am close to Queen Yura. She sent me to listen, not to threaten, not to command. Just to understand what is really happening here. The governor studied him carefully. Then slowly he began to talk. The colony was failing. They had been promised resources that never arrived. They were desperate. When Drakari ships came near, they panicked and overreacted. It was not really about aggression. It was about fear. Taemin spent 2 days on the colony talking to people, understanding their problems. He took notes. He asked questions. He treated them with respect. By the end, he had a clear picture of what they needed. He returned to the station and presented his findings to Yura and the council. The colony needs help, not punishment. They need the resources they were promised. They need better communication channels with the Empire. They need to feel secure, not threatened. And why should we care what they need? Dae-won challenged. They threatened us because helping them cost far less than fighting them. Because making them our allies is smarter than making them our enemies. Because we are strong enough to choose compassion over violence. Taemin looked at each council member. Sometimes real strength is knowing when not to fight. Yura made her decision. We will provide the resources they need. Taemin will establish regular communication with the colony. Commander Bora will ensure our security. We choose peace. The plan worked. Within weeks, the tension dissolved. The colony became grateful allies rather than frightened enemies. Word spread throughout both human and Drakari territories. The Queen had found a way to solve conflicts without war, and her human advisor had made it possible. Taemin's reputation grew. More people started to see him not as just a mechanic, but as someone with valuable skills. He could bridge different cultures. He could find peaceful solutions. He could think differently than traditional leaders. One evening, as the trial month was nearing its end, Taemin and Yura found themselves alone on the observation deck. It was the same place where this all began, where Hana and Mira first met. The month is almost over, Yura said quietly. Yes. Have you made your decision? Taemin looked at her. Have you? You could still choose one of the others. Someone more traditional. Someone who fits better. She laughed softly. I do not want someone who fits. I want someone who challenges me to be better. Someone who makes me think differently. Someone who sees me as Yura, not just as the queen. I am scared, he admitted. I am scared I will let you down. I am scared I will make mistakes. I am scared of forgetting Ji-won. Yura took his hand. You will, Mac. The day of the selection ceremony arrived. The entire station seemed to hold its breath. Every news screen showed the preparations in the Grand Hall. Lord Daewon and Admiral Kyung-ho stood ready, each confident they would be chosen. Taemin brought Hana to the ceremony because Princess Mira had specifically requested it. They sat far in the back trying to be invisible. This was royal business. They were just guests. The Grand Hall was magnificent. Hundreds of important Drakari filled the seats. The walls displayed the symbols of the Empire, glowing with inner light. At the front, a throne sat empty, waiting for Queen Yura. Trumpets sounded. Everyone stood as Queen Yura entered. She wore ceremonial armor that shimmered like liquid gold. Her wings were fully extended, showing her royal status. She looked every bit the powerful ruler she was. Princess Mira walked beside her mother, wearing a smaller version of the ceremonial outfit. She looked nervous. Her eyes searched the crowd until she found Hana. The two girls exchanged a small wave. The ceremony began with formal speeches. Lord Daewon spoke first, listing his achievements and the benefits he would bring to the Empire. He was impressive, speaking with confidence about expansion and wealth. Admiral Kyung-ho followed, describing military strategies and glorious victories he would achieve for the Queen. His speech was powerful and commanding. Then Queen Yura spoke. She thanked both suitors for their interest. She talked about duty and tradition. But Taemin noticed something. Her voice sounded tired. This was a woman going through the motions, doing what was expected but not what she wanted. By our ancient law, Yura said, the choice belongs to my heir. Princess Mira will announce her selection. The hall fell completely silent. Princess Mira stepped forward. She looked very small standing before hundreds of people. Her hands trembled slightly. She looked at Lord Daewon, then at Admiral Kyung-ho. Then she took a deep breath. I choose Taemin, the human mechanic, to be my new father. For a moment, nobody moved. Nobody even breathed. Then chaos exploded. Nobles shouted in outrage. Lord Daewon looked like someone had slapped him. Admiral Kyung-ho's face turned dark with anger. Taemin felt like his heart had stopped. This could not be real. He looked around wildly, certain someone would fix this terrible mistake. Hana grabbed his hand, her eyes wide. This is impossible, Lord Daewon shouted. A human? A common mechanic? This is an insult to every noble house. The princess has been influenced, Admiral Kyung-ho declared. This selection cannot stand. Commander Bora and her guards moved to protect the royal family. The hall was in uproar, but Queen Yura remained calm. She raised her hand and slowly the noise died down. The law is clear, she said, her voice carrying across the hall. My daughter has made her choice. By tradition, her selection must be honored. But, Your Majesty, an elderly noble protested. Surely you see this as inappropriate. A human cannot. The law makes no mention of species, Yura interrupted. It says only that my heir chooses. She has chosen. The Queen looked directly at Taemin. However, the chosen must accept. Taemin, please come forward. Taemin's legs felt like water. He had to walk to the front, past hundreds of angry and shocked faces. Hana squeezed his hand before letting go. He could do this. He had to. He walked to the front and bowed deeply. Your Majesty, Princess Mira, I am deeply honored, but I must refuse. The hall erupted again, this time with relief and satisfaction. Of course the human would refuse. This madness would end now. But Princess Mira's face crumpled. Tears started rolling down her cheeks. She whispered, Please do not say no. Taemin felt his heart breaking. He knelt down to be at the princess's level. Princess Mira, I cannot accept this honor. I am just a mechanic. Your mother deserves someone important, someone who can help rule an empire. I would embarrass her. I would fail you both. You would not fail, Mira said through her tears. I have my gift. I can feel what people truly want. Lord Daewon wants power. Admiral Kyung-ho wants glory. But you just want people to be happy. You see my mother as a person, not a queen. That is what we need. I am not ready, Taemin said softly. I am still honoring my wife's memory. Mom told me about your wife, Mira said. She said your wife taught you to be kind. Would she want you to be alone forever? Would she want me to be sad? The words hit Taemin hard. No, Ji-won would not want that. She would tell him to be open to possibilities. But this was too much, too fast. Queen Yura spoke again, her voice gentle. Taemin, might I speak with you privately? Commander Bora, clear the hall. The nobles protested but obeyed. Soon only Yura, Mira, Taemin, Hana, and Commander Bora remained. Yura sat down on the throne, suddenly looking less like a queen and more like a tired mother. I will not force you, she said. I have no interest in forcing anyone to do anything, but I want you to understand something. She gestured to the empty hall. For 5 years I have been looking at potential mates, powerful men, important men, men who could benefit the Empire, and every single one of them looked at me and saw a throne. They saw power and status. Not one of them asked what I needed. Not one of them cared if I was happy. But Your Majesty, I cannot, let me finish. Her voice was firm but not angry. When we talked in the workshop, you asked what I needed. You actually listened. When the colony ship was dying, you did not think about glory or credit. You thought about saving lives. When you fixed our machines, you respected what they were rather than trying to force them to be something else. She paused. You see worth in things others overlook. I am still just a mechanic. You are a man who saved 1,000 lives. A man who made my daughter smile for the first time in years. A man who understands that strength is not always about power. Yura leaned forward. I am not asking you to rule the Empire. I am asking you to be my partner. To help me remember that there is more to life than duty and politics. Taemin looked at Mira's hopeful face, then at Hana. His daughter gave him a small nod. She liked the idea. She liked Mira and had even started to like the Queen. I would embarrass you, he said quietly. I do not know how to be royal. I will make mistakes. People will laugh at you for choosing me. People already laugh at me for being a warrior queen who prefers peace. Let them laugh. Yura smiled slightly. I am asking for 1 month. Stay here on the station. Spend time with me and Mira, as you would with any potential partner. If after 30 days you still believe this is wrong, I will accept your refusal and choose another. But give me a chance to show you that this could work. Taemin thought about it. 1 month. It seemed impossible, but it was not a permanent commitment. And looking at the 2 princesses, 1 dragon and 1 human, he realized they needed this. Mira needed a father who would see her as a person. Yura needed a partner who would see her the same way. And maybe, just maybe, he and Hana needed them too. All right, he said finally. 1 month. But I am not promising anything beyond that. Mira's face lit up with joy. She hugged Taemin tightly, her small wings fluttering with excitement. Hana ran forward and joined the hug. The 2 girls laughed together. Queen Yura stood and approached. She placed her hand on his shoulder again, that gesture of respect. Thank you for being open to possibility. Jiwon always said I should be, he replied. She would probably tell me I am an idiot for hesitating. She sounds like she was very smart. She was. Commander Bora cleared her throat. Your Majesty, we need to announce something to the court. They are waiting, Yura nodded. Tell them that Princess Mira's choice stands, and that Taemin has agreed to a trial period of 1 month. After that, a final decision will be made. Bora looked unhappy about it, but she obeyed. As she left to make the announcement, Yura turned back to Taemin. Fair warning, she said. The next month will be difficult. The nobles will not make this easy. Neither will Lord Daewon or Admiral Kyung-ho. They will look for any excuse to prove you are unworthy. Then I will just have to try my best not to give them one. Your best is enough, Yura said simply. Later that evening, Taemin sat in his small apartment, trying to process what had happened. In 1 day, his entire life had changed. He went from being a simple mechanic to potentially becoming the mate of the Dragon Queen. Hana sat next to him, unusually quiet. Finally, she spoke. Dad, would you be happy with them? I do not know yet, maybe. Would you be happy? I like Mira, she is my best friend. And Queen Yura is nice. She is sad like you used to be. Maybe you could make each other less sad. Taemin hugged his daughter. When did you get so wise? Mom was wise. You always say I am like her, you are. Very much. That night, Taemin thought about Jiwon. He imagined having a conversation with her about all this craziness. She would have laughed. She would have told him he was overthinking everything. She would have reminded him that life is short and precious and sometimes you have to take risks. He pulled out an old photo of Jiwon and looked at her smiling face. I hope I am doing the right thing, he whispered. I hope you understand. The photo did not answer, of course, but somehow he felt like she would approve. She always wanted him to be happy. Maybe it was time to try. The next morning, everything changed. Taemin moved into guest quarters near the royal wing. They were far nicer than anywhere he had ever lived. Hana had her own room bigger than their entire apartment. She kept saying it was like a princess's room, which made Mira giggle. The first few days were incredibly awkward. The wedding day arrived with perfect timing. The entire station had been decorated with flowers and lights from both human and Drakari cultures. The grand hall where the selection ceremony had shocked everyone now hosted a celebration that brought two worlds together. Taemin stood in a preparation room, adjusting his outfit nervously. It was a blend of formal human clothing and Drakari ceremonial pieces. He wore dark pants and a jacket in human style, but with royal symbols embroidered in Drakari fashion. A cape in the Empire's colors hung from his shoulders. Commander Bora entered without knocking. She looked at him and nodded with approval. "You look like you belong. I feel like an imposter." "Good. The day you stop feeling that way is the day you become arrogant like Lord Day One. A little humility is healthy." She straightened his cape. "The Queen is ready, are you?" Taemin took a deep breath. "As ready as I will ever be." The ceremony was beautiful. Hundreds of guests filled the hall, representatives from dozens of worlds. The human delegation sat on one side, the Drakari on the other. But unlike most formal events, there was no tension. Instead, there was curiosity and hope. Hana and Princess Mira walked down the aisle together, carrying traditional symbols from both cultures. They wore matching dresses, one designed for a human child and one for a Drakari. They looked like true sisters, and they were beaming with pride. Then Queen Yura entered. Taemin's breath caught in his throat. She was stunning. Her ceremonial armor had been polished until it gleamed like captured sunlight. Her wings were fully extended, showing intricate patterns. But what struck him most was her face. She was not wearing her queen mask. She was simply happy. The ceremony blended traditions from both peoples. A human official spoke about love and partnership. A Drakari elder recited ancient vows about strength and honor. Taemin and Yura exchanged promises, not just to each other but to their daughters and their peoples. When it came time for vows, Taemin spoke first. His voice shook slightly at the beginning but grew stronger. "I stand before you not as a great warrior or diplomat. I stand here as someone who loves Queen Yura for who she is, not what she represents. I promise to be her partner, to support her dreams, to challenge her when she needs it, and to stand beside her always. I promise to honor my past while building our future. And I promise to be the father that Princess Mira deserves." Yura's vows were equally moving. "I choose Taemin not because he is perfect, but because he is real. In a world of politics and pretense, he showed me that genuine connection matters more than power. He taught me that strength comes in many forms and that sometimes the bravest thing is to be vulnerable. I promise to build a life with him that honors both our worlds and creates something new." When they sealed their union with both a human kiss and a Drakari gesture of wing touching, the hall erupted in cheers. Even some of the skeptical nobles found themselves moved by the sincerity of the moment. The celebration that followed was unlike any royal event in Drakari history. There was formal dancing and informal playing. There was traditional Drakari music and human songs. Children from both species ran around together while their parents talked and laughed. Late in the evening, Taemin found himself surrounded by a group of Drakari nobles. They asked him questions about human culture, about his work as a mechanic, about how he planned to handle his new role. He answered honestly, never pretending to know more than he did. By the end of the conversation, several of them were nodding thoughtfully. This human might actually work out. The days after the wedding brought new rhythms to their lives. Taemin officially became royal consort and ambassador of cross-cultural relations. It was a position created specifically for him, recognizing that his value lay in his unique perspective. He kept his repair shop on the station, but it transformed into something more. It became a training center where humans and Drakari learned to work together. Young engineers from both species studied there, learning not just technical skills but how to collaborate across cultural differences. The family split their time between the royal palace and the station. Yura handled the political aspects of ruling, while Taemin focused on cultural exchange and practical problem-solving. They made a good team, each bringing strengths the other lacked. Hana and Mira grew up together, learning from both their cultures. Hana learned Drakari history and customs, Mira learned human traditions and technology. They became living examples of what cooperation between species could create. 6 months after the wedding, a crisis tested them. Admiral Kyung-ho, still bitter about being passed over, attempted to undermine Taemin's position. He spread rumors that the human was controlling the queen, that he was secretly working for human interests against the empire. The accusations gained some support among conservative factions. A formal inquiry was called. Taemin would have to defend himself before the full council. The night before the inquiry, Taemin sat with Yura on their private balcony. "I am worried," he admitted. "What if they decide I am not fit? What if they force you to choose someone else?" Yura took his hand. "Then I will remind them that I am queen. My choice is final. But it will not come to that. You have done good work. People see that, have I? Sometimes I feel like I am just playing at this role. You resolved a border dispute without violence. You created programs that bring our peoples together. You handled diplomatic situations with honesty and respect." She smiled. "You are exactly what this empire needs, even if some cannot see it yet." The inquiry was held in the same grand hall where so much had already happened. Admiral Kyung-ho presented his case with military precision. He listed instances where Taemin had failed to follow traditional protocols. He questioned whether a human could truly have the empire's best interests at heart. When it was Taemin's turn to respond, he stood calmly. "Everything the Admiral says is true. I have broken protocols. I do things differently. I am human, and my perspective is different from yours. But is that really a weakness?" He walked to the center of the hall. "In the past 6 months, how many conflicts have we resolved peacefully? How many new alliances have we formed? How many young people from different species are working together who never would have before?" He looked at each council member. "I am not asking you to make me into a traditional Drakari leader. I am asking you to recognize that different approaches have value." Then Commander Bora stood. "I was skeptical of Taemin at first. I thought he was weak. But I have watched him work. I have seen him turn enemies into allies through understanding rather than force. I have seen him solve problems that military might could not fix. He may not be a warrior, but he is exactly what he claims to be, a bridge between worlds. One by one, others stood to support him. Engineers who had learned from him, diplomats who had seen his methods work. Even some nobles who had initially opposed the marriage admitted that Taemin had brought unexpected benefits to the empire. Admiral Kyung-ho found himself standing alone in his opposition. The inquiry ended with a clear verdict. Taemin was not only fit to be royal consort, he was valuable to the empire in ways that traditional leaders could not match. After the inquiry, Kyung-ho approached Taemin privately. "I still do not like you," he said bluntly. "I do not understand why the queen chose you over warriors and nobles. That is fair. I do not need you to like me. But I hope eventually you can respect that I am trying to help the empire in my own way." The admiral studied him for a long moment. "You are strange for a human. Most would be angry or defensive. You just accept that not everyone will support you. My wife used to say that you cannot make everyone happy. You can only do your best and hope it is enough. Your late wife." The admiral nodded slowly. "You honor her memory well." She paused. "Perhaps there is more to you than I thought. Time will tell." It was not forgiveness, but it was a start. Taemin would take it. 2 years passed. The station had become a true symbol of cooperation between humans and Drakari. More species had joined the cultural exchange programs. Conflicts that might have turned into wars were resolved through dialogue. The empire was changing slowly but steadily. Taemin and Yura had a child together, a daughter they named Ji-yeon. The name combined elements from Ji-won and Yura, honoring both the past and the present. The child was healthy and beautiful, showing characteristics of both species through careful genetic integration. Hana, now 8 years old, doted on her baby sister. Mira, at 10, took her role as big sister seriously. The 3 girls represented something new and hopeful, a family that proved love and connection mattered more than species or tradition. One evening, Taemin stood in his workshop, working on a complex repair. It had become his meditation, the place he came to think. Yura found him there, as she often did. "Do you ever miss your old life?" she asked. "Just being a mechanic, no responsibilities beyond fixing machines?" "Sometimes. It was simpler, but it was also lonely." He set down his tools and turned to her. "This life is complicated and challenging, but it is full. I have you. I have our daughters. I have work that matters. I would not trade it even when nobles question you, even when you have to attend boring meetings, even when people expect you to be something you are not, even then, because at the end of the day, I get to come home to you. That makes everything else worth it. She kissed him gently. I'm glad Mira chose you.